Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Throughout its 60-year history, Doctor Who has had various ideas for stories that, for one reason or another, never got made. Some of the reasons include them being too ambitious for the show's budget, them being considered too unsuitable for the show, and others not making it due to a hiatus or cancellation of the show. Here's a list of 5 that I wish had been made the most, starting with some honourable and dishonourable mentions. Dishonourable mention: The Prison in Space. The Prison in Space was intended to take the 4th slot of Season 6, and thank God it never got made. Whilst its Battle of the Sexes storyline and humour might not have seemed so out of the norm in the 1960s, I can imagine it inspiring a lot of arguments on places like Twitter nowadays, if it had been made. Just look at the discourse around the talons of Wen Chian. But honestly, I haven't even listened to the Big Finish audio adaptation of this story, so I suppose I should reserve judgment until I have, but just from what I've heard of others talking about it alone, I'm not exactly in a rush to listen to it anytime soon. Honourable mention: The Son of Doctor Who. An idea mooted by the first Doctor himself, William Hartnell, the Son of Doctor Who was never a concrete story idea. It was merely a suggestion by Hartnell after he became interested in playing other characters in the show. The Son of Doctor Who would obviously have introduced the Doctor's evil son, who looks exactly like him. It was never seriously considered by the production team at the time, whichever team that would have been, as it's not known for certain when exactly Hartnell came up with the idea. But I thought it was worth a mention, as it goes to show just how committed Hartnell was to the programme. And now we come to the actual list itself, starting with number 5. Number 5. Longbower. I couldn't make a list of unmade stories without including this one somewhere now, could I? Longbower was of course all to do with the Doctor's origins, and would have revealed that the Doctor was in fact a reincarnation of a founding father of Time Lord society, known as the Other. It would have also revealed that Time Lords reproduce via these things called looms. Longbower was never made due to JNT thinking it gave too much of the Doctor's origins away, which I do agree with actually. As much as I would love to have seen it made, it probably would have ruined not just the mystery surrounding the Doctor, but also the Cartmel master plan, as everything that had been trying to do would have effectively become meaningless. It would have felt like we knew too much about the Doctor all over again. Longbower was obviously later turned into one of the last Virgin New Adventures books. It has since become one of the rarest to find anywhere, with it always going for incredibly inflated prices whenever a copy does turn up. Number 4. The Doomsday Contract. The Doomsday Contract was originally intended for Season 17, as well as Season 18. It would have been very much in line with the Graham Williams era's emphasis on humour. Whilst on holiday, the Doctor is called to prove that the Earth has intelligent life on it, which would prevent a company called Cosmogelon from being able to own the planet. It may sound ridiculous to those of you who don't care much for the Graham Williams era, but I actually think it would have been pretty funny if it had been made, although apparently Graham Williams had some concerns that some of the main villains called the, just bear with me here, Wadifalin, I think that is, would offend Muslims. So maybe it's best that it never got made. Big Finish would eventually do an audio adaptation of it in 2021. Although I haven't listened to it yet, I hope to do so very soon. Number 3. The Tearing of the Veil. Also intended to be a part of Seasons 17 and 18, The Tearing of the Veil would have made for a very interesting story. It would have involved the TARDIS being pursued by an evil force to a Victorian vicarage. The vicar's widow is being tricked by conmen. As the evil force starts killing everyone, K9 is torn apart, whilst the Doctor is reduced to a crank, wandering about in his nightgown. I would have really liked to have seen the story, as whilst it was submitted during the Graham Williams era, I can kind of imagine it working within the gothic horror feel of the Philip Hinchcliffe era, at least based off the summary of it I could find online anyway. I hope we get to see a Big Finish audio adaptation of it one day, as I think it would make for something pretty different from the usual type of lost stories they do. Number 2. The Laird of McCrimmon. Intended to be the penultimate story of Season 6, The Lead of McCrimmon was also intended to be Jamie's final story. Jamie would be possessed and pilot the TARDIS back to his ancestral home, Castle McCrimmon. Once there, he finds the current Laird, Sir James, is on his deathbed. Then, Yeti surround the castle. The local villagers all fall under the influence of the Great Intelligence, apart from a girl called Fiona, who Jamie falls in love with. The Great Intelligence wants to take over Jamie's body and become the new Laird once Sir James dies, but it is defeated by the Doctor, with Jamie then staying behind to become the Laird himself. The reason why this idea came into being is because Fraser Hines had originally wanted to leave the show a lot earlier than he ended up doing. It was only after Patrick Troughton asked him to stay on until the end of the season so that they could leave together that Hines decided to stay a bit longer. Also, the aforementioned Prison in Space was also originally written to include Jamie's departure, before later being rewritten to have him stay on when Hines decided not to leave. The Laird of McCrimmon never got made due to a copyright dispute over the Quarks, who had appeared in Mervyn Haseman's and Henry Lincoln's previous story, The Dominators. This took place between the two writers and the BBC, and ultimately led to the Dominators being credited to a pseudonym, Norman Ashby, after Haseman and Lincoln requested their names be removed from the credits. It's a real shame that it never got made, as it sounds really good. The focus of the story, it sounds like it would be on Jamie a lot, which would have been great. I'm glad he stayed on until the War Games, but if he had to leave in another story, I don't think any would have been a better fit than the Laird of McCrimmon. And now, here's number 1. Number 1. Lost in a Dark Dimension. Lost in a Dark Dimension, or just the Dark Dimension, was intended to be the show's 30th anniversary special. It would have mainly focused on an older 4th Doctor who had been prevented from regenerating by the main villain, Professor Hawkspur, who would have been played by Rick Mayall. Other Doctors would have had smaller parts though, which was something that the then other surviving Doctors of John Pertwee, Peter Davison, Colin Baker and Sylvester McCoy were not happy about. Whilst I do love the idea of the Dark Dimension, I do understand where the other Doctor actors were coming from. The fact that Sylvester McCoy in particular had to play second fiddle to Tom Baker when McCoy was the then incumbent Doctor would have been a bit strange and unfair. Having said that though, the story itself sounds really intriguing. It might have had this really dark and foreboding feel to it as the various Doctors get kidnapped by Hawkspur one by one. I'm not surprised it never got made, as not only would it be peculiar for Tom Baker to be the main focus, but it would have cost a lot to make as well, and that was what ultimately killed it, as well as Philip Segal asking for it to not be made. He did this because he felt like it wouldn't have been very good, and that people would have gotten confused with it and his own attempts to bring the show back, which would obviously turn out to be the TV movie. But it's something that's always really captured my imagination, so I would have liked to have seen it at least. It's been adapted into various fan-made productions since, such as an animation and a fan audio. But anyway, there we have it. There's my top 5 unmade stories I wish had been made. I might end up changing my mind with some of the ones I picked, but that's where my opinions lie for now. Some of my picks may not have been what you were all expecting, so please let me know if there were indeed any that surprised you. And also please feel free to let me know which ones you would have gone for in the comments section below. Anyway, so thanks for watching, hope you liked it. Please don't forget to press that subscribe button below, as well as press the bell icon at the side of it, so that you'll stay notified of when all my new videos come out. This channel currently has 1,185 subscribers as of the time of writing and recording this video. But if we can get to 2,500 by the end of this year, then I will do another Q&A where you can ask me whatever questions you want. Just keep them polite, please. Also please rate, and I shall see you all in another video. So until next time, bye bye.